For decades, John and Linda dreamed of this moment. No alarm clocks, no rush hour traffic, no more work stress. Like many new retirees, they believed the golden years meant fewer expenses and more freedom. But by the end of their second year, something felt off. Their savings account was shrinking faster than expected. They weren't living extravagantly, just living normally. So why were they spending more after retiring than when they had two steady paychecks? It turns out John and Linda aren't alone. According to the Employee Benefit Research Institute, nearly 46% of retirees spend more in the first 2 years of retirement than they did while working. Retirement doesn't usually reduce spending, it reshapes it. The first few years often include long postponed dreams, family vacations, home improvements, or helping children financially. These aren't luxuries, they're life moments, but they come with a cost. Then there's healthcare, the invisible budget breaker. Fidelity estimates that a typical 65-year-old couple retiring this year will need about $315,000 after taxes to cover medical expenses throughout retirement. And that doesn't include long-term care, which can cost an additional $80,000 per year if needed later in life. Inflation quietly adds pressure too. Even at a modest 3% annual rate, prices double in roughly 24 years. So if you retire at 65, your $50,000 annual budget could need to be more than $100,000 by age 89 just to maintain the same standard of living. So the truth is, most retirees don't automatically spend less, they just spend differently. What matters isn't how much you cut, but how well you plan. A smart retirement plan includes yearly reviews, inflation-adjusted budgets, and flexible spending goals that adapt as life changes. John and Linda assumed that after decades of working and saving, their retirement would be secure. They believed that Social Security, that familiar monthly check, would pick up where their paychecks left off. After all, everyone seemed to say, "You worked your whole life, now your benefits take over." Yet by their first year of retirement, John and Linda noticed something. The Social Security payment arrived, but the gap between it and their living costs was larger than they'd expected. They weren't living lavishly. They were living normally, just like they planned. The reality is this: Social Security was never designed to pick up 100% of your pre-retirement income. For the average worker, Social Security replaces only about 40% of annual pre-retirement earnings. National Council on Aging Social Security Plus One. So if you were earning $75,000 a year, your Social Security check might approximate $30,000, leaving a $45,000 gap to fill. That difference adds up, and it's where many retirees find themselves challenged. Most financial experts agree that to maintain your pre-retirement lifestyle, you'll need about 70% to 80% of your pre-retirement income. Trust point plus one. If Social Security replaces roughly 40%, where does the rest come from? Many retirees rely on savings, pensions, or part-time work. And there's more. Social Security's outlook is under pressure. The average monthly benefit for a retired worker in January 2025 was about $1,176, Social Security. For many, especially those without large savings or pensions, that check alone won't cover rising housing, health, and lifestyle costs. John and Linda realized that relying solely on Social Security was a myth. They had to take action, review their savings, adjust their spending, and delay benefits if possible. The truth is not that Social Security isn't important, it's that it won't cover most of it on its own. Your financial freedom depends on how well you combine it with other income streams and planning. So ask yourself, will one benefit check cover your whole retirement? For most people, no. Plan for the income you'll actually need, and let Social Security be the foundation, not the ceiling. John and Linda assumed their 401k was safe, but retirement accounts are containers, not guarantees. The balance can rise and fall with the market, and standard protections don't insure you against losses. Early losses, right as you start withdrawals, can permanently dent your plan. It's called sequence of returns risk. Poor returns early in retirement make every withdrawal more damaging, even if the market eventually recovers. Three forces quietly shrink 401ks. Fees, even small percentages compound against you over decades. Loans, leave your job and an unpaid loan can become a taxable distribution plus penalty. Timing rules. Withdraw too early and you may owe a 10% additional tax. Wait too long and RMDs are mandatory starting at age 73. What helped John and Linda? Diversify beyond one fund to balance stock and bond risk. Use a flexible withdrawal plan. Trim withdrawals after bad years. Keep 1 to 2 years of expenses in cash-like reserves to avoid selling in a downturn. Rebalance annually to keep risk in check. If you're still contributing, know the current limits. For 2025, elective deferrals can go up to $23,500, plus a $7,500 catch-up if you're 50 or older. A lot of retirees believe that if money gets tight, they can simply pick up a part-time job. It feels like a reasonable backup plan. Flexible hours, extra income, easy to find. But when many older adults actually try, the reality looks very different. Jobs are harder to get, schedules are less flexible than people expect, and competition is stronger than ever. Today, the job market isn't built for older workers. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, only about 18% of people over 65 work at all, and many who want work can't get it. AARP reports that nearly 2 in 3 older job seekers face age discrimination, making hiring slower and more difficult. And for many retirees, health limits make physical jobs impossible. The Urban Institute found that 56% of older workers leave the labor force earlier than planned, often because of layoffs, caregiving responsibilities, or health issues. And even when you do get a job, the average part-time wage for seniors is usually $13, $18 an hour, which doesn't go far against rising housing, medical, and food costs. So instead of depending on work you may not be able to get, John and Linda built income streams that don't rely on physical labor, small digital services, interest from savings, dividends, and a modest rental income. These sources don't care how old you are or whether someone calls you back. Working part-time in retirement isn't a guaranteed safety net. It's a gamble. Build income that works even when you can't. That's how you protect the future you've earned. John and Linda once thought retirement planning was a one-and-done task. After all, they had saved for decades. So why would they need to revisit anything? But retirement isn't a straight line. Prices rise, tax rules shift, the market moves, and even the best plan needs updates. Fidelity estimates that a typical 65-year-old couple retiring now will need over $315,000 for health care alone, and that number increases almost every year. And even everyday spending rises over time. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that inflation has averaged 2.6% annually over the last 20 years. Tax brackets change, Medicare premiums change, required minimum distributions change. Market performance can dramatically shift income needs, in some years up to 15% swings, and Social Security benefits adjust with cost of living increases, but not always enough to match rising expenses. So John and Linda began reviewing their entire plan every year, their budget, their investments, their withdrawals, and their healthcare strategy. A 30-minute check-in gave them more clarity and far more control. Retirement planning isn't a one-time event. It's an ongoing habit. When you update your plan consistently, your money becomes calmer, steadier, and ready for whatever comes next. Retirement isn't just a destination. It's an unfolding journey. And the biggest danger in that journey isn't the economy, the markets, or even rising costs. It's the myths we believe, myths that tell us things will get cheaper, that Social Security will be enough, that our savings are untouchable, that we can always work if we need to, or that planning is something you do once and never again. But when John and Linda challenged these myths, something changed. They replaced fear with clarity, guesswork with strategy, and uncertainty with peace. And you can do the same. Your retirement doesn't have to be fragile or unpredictable. It can be intentional, confident, and built on truth, not assumptions. If this video helped you rethink your retirement plan, share it with someone who needs it. And remember, every week Money Pilot AI breaks down the financial world into simple, smart steps for retirees. Subscribe now, and let's make your money outlive you together.